Morning, everyone, and thank you very much for coming over here for this presentation. And Pauline, thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. Before I start, maybe I'll give you a little bit background. I just came back from London after spending about 20 years in UK. And during that time, I spent a lot of time with financial institutions. And I don't know whether I'm a jinx or not. I've been involved in most of the major incidents in UK. Either as the one who actually look at them when they go wrong and report to the government or the regulator, or the one who actually help them to fix the problem. In fact, before I came back, I spent 3 years in one of the big UK banks based in Scotland to help them to fix their problem. I don't want to mention which one, you probably can guess. Okay, thank you very much. And the other thing is that maybe I'll give you a background, is that when Pauline or ACCA asked me to do a presentation, initially we were talking about cybersecurity. But what I was interested is that because I've done cybersecurity presentation almost every day, including yesterday as well, and I thought that I want to broaden the subject slightly further, because I think that cybersecurity is only one element of digital. There's many elements and many risks in digital that we need to think about. I spend a lot of time with the Singapore government. I have challenged the Singapore government that actually cybersecurity is one portion of the risk. There is many risks out there in digital, which I'm going to go through with you very quickly later. To set the scene is that this is not going to go in detail, because this will be only the first of the series in regards to digital trust. I'm going to give you a strategic view in terms of what is out there in terms of the digital world, and then basically talk about the underlying foundation of the digital world, which is trust, and then I'll give you something to take away in terms of how to build digital trust in your organization. Okay, now you probably have seen all those words in the newspaper every day, and they're probably coming out from a year as well. Some of them we understand, some of them we don't understand. Okay, but what it just tells you is that there's actually explosion of growth in technology. Why this is different, I think that some of you are probably about the same age as me. When I started work, there was no computer. And we realized that the people are not very efficient in terms of what they do. So the challenge for all of us was basically to computerize the processes that we have been doing monotonously. What you realize if you reflect, in the last 5 years, things have changed tremendously. And the only reason it has changed tremendously is because of connectivity. Okay? Because formerly we have actually used technology to connect, to help us to do work. Now we have made sure that, sorry, can you hear me better? Okay. Now we are actually making sure that they are connected to one another. As such, it gives human or the person who control it big potential in terms of what they can do. Okay, I'm going to go through some of those things that are going on in the digital age, because we have done research and we think that there are probably 8 of them out there that will actually determine us, will help us to change our life in the next 8 years or so. Okay, you can probably see some of them. We have sensor, which is the Internet of Things. Government has talked a lot about it in terms of connecting different applications, everything on the ground with a sensor, and this sensor will send all this information to a big computer heart that will provide you all those information. Okay, and that's what Singapore government is doing. The other one is augmented reality. I don't know how many of you play Pokemon Go. Okay, I'm sure it is a very interesting game, but I guarantee you that this is only first part of augmented reality. What they are doing is basically, there's reality, they have put a virtualization onto this reality. Just imagine what they can do in real life when something like that happens, rather than just a game. Okay? The third one I wanted to talk about is virtual reality. Virtual reality right now, we just think about virtual reality in terms of cinema, but this will become more and more prominent in the business area in terms of actually putting things virtually in front of you, such that you can actually simulate the experiences. Okay? And that will have a big impact on human beings, which we do not realize. The third one, I think we spent a lot of time talking about blockchain. Previously, we talked about Bitcoin. Personally, I don't think Bitcoin is the main thing, it's blockchain. And that is about distributed ledger that has a and nobody can change those things that you have recorded. Artificial intelligence. I see this as the leading edge, but my concern is that we always think that artificial intelligence can help us to do things better, can predict things better. Maybe I'm trained as an accountant, so maybe I'm a pessimist. I always worry the time where this artificial intelligence become more intelligent than human being. Okay, some of you might not agree with me, but what I realize is that artificial intelligence is based on patterns. Okay, they learn from this pattern, and as a result, they know that if you do this, they have to do that. Why human is so powerful is that we are powerful because we are able to deal with patterns, but we are able to make decisions when the pattern changes. Okay, artificial intelligence cannot do that. Okay, and just imagine if, let's say, you tell the artificial intelligence that every time a person wants to cross the road, you will stop the car. Okay, just imagine one day you cross the road, and maybe you don't cross the road, and then the car will have to move. Just imagine the car move to the pavement and knock you, because they are told that whenever nobody crosses the road, they can go by. Okay, there are a lot of danger in regards to artificial intelligence. Okay, 3D printing. This is big in the manufacturing space. This will allow you to turn business into factory. And this will have a big impact in terms of Singapore being a smart nation for manufacturing. The third area is drone. I think that SingPost have implemented or test running a drone that will send a letter to you by small little aeroplanes to your house. And this will have a big impact for a lot of people because actually, I don't know whether you have seen the newspaper article that the jail, actually some of the criminals actually get the drone to send things into the prison so that they can get the things from the drone actually. In fact, they caught it, I believe in the US that they caught it. Okay? Robots, I've talked about robots. It's quite similar to artificial intelligence. We are always very worried about robots replacing human beings. I think that it's a matter of time, but don't worry, we are all profession and we use judgment. Judgment will always be missing in robots. Okay, so why I'm talking about all this is that it tells you that things are changing very quickly and they will have an impact on us personally, your business and your customer. Okay, we are actually at the crossroad of digital evolution. Okay, you can see that eventually what people are concerned about, and all of us are called digital natives. Okay, we live in the digital world, we are native in the digital world, every transaction that we do has an impact from the digital world. Okay, now, let me tell you why I think that this whole last 5 years things have changed a lot. There are three things I think that have actually caused this big change. The first one is accessibility. Is that everybody have access to computer. Okay, every instrument will have access to sensor, and this sensor will pass the information to big computer systems. So accessibility is very important. And just imagine all the people in Africa will have computer and they can connect to the whole wide world. They can do a lot more things. Okay, so that's one. Secondly is computing power. The computing power is getting bigger, more complex, and it's also getting cheaper. As a result, the things that we thought they cannot do it now can be done because the computer power has increased many, many folds. And last but not least is that the storage space has also reduced tremendously. So if these three things add together, that increases in terms of the ability to use digital to help us to change our world. Okay, and these are very important drivers in terms of digital natives. Okay, so what are the opportunities in regards to digital world? I talk about automation, and that has been going on for the last 40 years. We talk about social media. We can talk to different people at any time all over the world. Okay, you can use WhatsApp to make a call, and you don't even have to pay anything for that. Okay, innovation, this is what everybody is talking about. like everything in life, when there's innovation, there's also a risk as well. Okay, efficiency, we talk about it because we want to make things cheaper, better, faster. Okay, connectivity, expanded sphere, and collaboration and trust. These are wonderful things about digital world. And this will create growth for the nation, for the country. Okay? Now that I've set the scene in regards to what digital world can do for you, the challenge is that it has changed the economy of people like us. We are called digital native. And who are the digital native? People like you and I. We have increasing high expectation of what we expect from all our businesses. Okay? This is very important. Formerly, we don't have choice. Now we have choice. We know what is the best. We only want the best. And that's where customer centricity comes in. Secondly, is because how do we know the best? We can go to the internet and search for the best, and we know what does good look like. Okay? So you will not be fooled very easily. And you trust your friends, and I don't know, sometimes I'm always amazed that my kids trust their friends more than trust myself. Okay? Although they have never even met them physically. Okay? Fourthly, you have many choices in life because you through internet, you can choose whatever you want. Okay? And you are very well informed. But last but not least, we are very good at complaining if we don't like it. And we tell the whole world if we don't like it. Okay, the world has changed. So that's what you are dealing with on a daily basis. That's what your customer is behaving. Okay? So what is the impact to business? The business needs to understand the customer needs and actually deliver the best experience for the customer. And this is extremely important. It's all about customer centricity. Secondly, is that the business needs to disrupt themselves. The reason is that if you don't disrupt yourself, other people will disrupt you and you will become irrelevant. Okay, and that's, if you are a business leader here, I encourage you to make sure that you disrupt yourself. If you don't disrupt yourself, other people will disrupt you and you will disappear in no time. Just like Kodak and just like photocopy machine, that sort of thing. Thirdly, you need to have insight in terms of how your products are produced and how your services are consumed. Until you know that, you can create a product that the customer wants. Okay? Fourthly, you need to understand the whole ecosystem on how everything fits together. Because we are interconnected, everyone is connected to one another. Okay? And increasingly, what we are talking about is partnership. In fact, I have a strong view is that increasingly people will decide what are the niche that they are going to focus. You focus on what you are good at. And the person who is able to bring all those best things together will be the winner. And that's where you bring the whole ecosystem together. Okay? Last but not least, you need to innovate. You need to make sure that your business model are changing all the time. Okay? So that is the impact on the business. But underlying all this thing is about trust. Okay? Because if they don't trust you, that's the end of your business. Okay? They trust that you will operate 24/7, you will be resilient in any time, and the information that they provided you are going to be safe and secure. And if you don't do that, they will announce to the whole wide world, this is what you are not doing, and there goes your brand reputation, and probably there goes your future. Okay, so trust is going to be the currency of the digital world. And what that means is that people are willing to pay a premium on trust. Okay? In fact, we work with many organizations. A lot of organizations, in fact, I work with many banks, some of them, in fact, all the 3 local banks. A lot of them are very concerned about that. And they believe that the one that provides the trust most will get the most business. Secondly is that because digital world, everything is connected, you really have to trust many people, and trust becomes the underlying foundation of this digital world. And fourthly is not about technology we are talking about. It's about business processes, business strategy. Trust has to build into technology, but also the business. Okay? Last but not least is that the way business is run, how your employee feel about the business is also about trust. If you don't trust your company, you will probably leave. Okay? That is what trust is all about. is going to underpin whatever things that we are doing in the whole wide world. Okay, so let's talk about trust further. Okay, what we do know is that we are interconnected, interdependent, and integrated. We also know that at the end of the day, we are going to become more collaborative, and we are going to trust one another. Okay, and information will flow between systems, different things, that sort of thing. Okay, however, there's a threat out there. Because of all those three attributes, there are criminals out there who will use all this and abuse this to do something that is not beneficial to us. And the reason for it is that our computer systems are built when they don't really think too much about security, or our computer systems were built probably 50, 60 years ago, where actually security was never in the top agenda. The whole idea of building a computer was to make sure that the system processes will work cheaper, better, and faster, but not more secure. Security only comes in place properly in the last 5 years. Okay? The challenge is that you have hard-coded all those things inside your system. How to retrospectively change that is a problem. Okay, so the world has changed. Let me tell you in terms of the evolving perspective. In terms of scope of challenge, formerly we have a house, we protect the house, we lock the door, we lock the windows, everything will be fine. The world has changed. Okay? Do you know who are your third party? I'm sure you know, I hope you know, but do you know who are your third party? And do you know how secured they are? Okay. Formerly, we think that technology is all led by IT people, or digital is led by IT people. I've spent a lot of time with company, and I can rest assure you, the company that have done well are company where digital is owned by the business, and IT work very closely with the business, and they on a collaborative basis. And digital is an agenda for the board. If your board doesn't talk about digital, you should challenge them. In fact, increasingly, there are a lot of organizations has digital council that are chaired by the board, or cyber council that are chaired by the board. Okay, on top of the risk committee that you have. Okay, thirdly is that we used to think that people who hack into our system are students who have nothing better to do. They sit on their bedroom just at night, midnight, and click on it. No more. The world has changed. They become more organized, they are well-funded, and they work like an organization. In fact, yesterday I was told that the government actually look at who is attacking Singapore. And what they can tell you is that the people who attack Singapore actually work 9 to 5. They even have public holidays as well. Okay, if you look at the log, they can tell you, actually they have lunch break where the attack will go down. Midnight onwards, the attack will go down. Okay, it's because they are organization. They even have marketing department. Okay, the marketing department will take the things that they stolen and sell it in the dark web. Okay, and the service is much better than any service that you can provide. They tell you that they give you at 12 o'clock, they make sure they give you at 12 o'clock, and they will send you a thank you note as well. Okay, now, unfortunately, information is, there are so many things that we have to protect. Okay, every organization is different. So the model of cookie cutter is not going to work. You have to customize and prioritize what you want to do. Okay, because it's that I personally think that buying security, buying protection is a very, very expensive undertaking. I always tell people it's like taking drugs, not that I've taken drugs, is that you buy security this year, you probably need to spend more money next year to maintain it. Okay? And if you are a budget controller, let me warn you, your IT people is going to ask you for more money for this year. It doesn't mean that you're going to spend less next year. You're going to spend more. Okay, the only way is up, is not down. Okay, defense posture. Okay, we used to say that protect our perimeter and the whole world will be safe. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Okay, you will never be safe. It's a matter of when, not if. As a result, a lot of organizations are doing tabletop exercise, making sure that they are prepared for the worst. In fact, there are PR companies set up just to advise the board or management how to respond to crisis. Anybody from Talk here? Okay, good. I don't know whether you know TalkTalk. TalkTalk was a mobile company in the UK. They were actually hacked, and what happened was that PwC was asked to go in to have a look at, to help them when they were hacked. And when they were hacked, they, of course, good citizen, they have a chairman who went in the newspaper to announce that they have been hacked and potentially a few million customers are affected. As a result of that, they lose quite a lot of customers, okay? But when we went in there to look at what has been hacked, what we realized that it's only less than 100,000 customer information has been hacked. And that's where it tells you that don't over-communicate, but also don't under-communicate. Okay, and that's where there is a lot of learning to be done. As a result, a lot of companies are doing exercises, communication exercises, scenario planning, just to make sure that they know how to deal with crisis. Okay, in fact, I spent a lot of time with CSA, which is Cybersecurity Agency in Singapore. I can guarantee you that the CEO, every day he has to wake up and practice when he's going to go to the newspaper or the press or the television to tell us that we have been hacked, this information has been lost, and what they're going to do about it. Okay? And last but not least is that, which is something that we have not done very well, which is information sharing. Information sharing is very important because your friends get hacked or your friends got attacked, that sort of thing. It's very good information because the attackers are very smart people. I told you they are doing like they are organization. They will go from one to another like bees. So if somebody got hacked, it is very important to share with the wider community. The challenge about sharing information is that in Asian mentality, you don't want to shame yourself, and you always think that there's a competitive advantage if you tell people about what happened in your organization. But the challenge is that if you don't share, other people will get attacked as well. And the other thing is that even if the attack doesn't happen to another organization, it's important to share because a lot of attack is basically a modification of the previous attack. That's how they create attack. They come out with one malware, they build another malware on top of it, they change a few code, and then after that it can become better and better. And that's why it's very important to share. I know there are a number of initiatives by the government about information sharing. I do know that our Prime Minister is going to give a speech in about a month's time on the strategy for Singapore in regards to cybersecurity. There is also a cybersecurity bill coming out, and you are free to comment on it if you want. And thirdly is that our Misuse of Computer Act right now is going to be changed slightly to make sure that they can catch criminals. Because right now it's quite general in terms of what they can do. Okay, now, what are the risks of digital world? Okay, when you think about digital world, I talk about it, you would think that cybersecurity is the only thing. But let me warn you, cybersecurity is not the only thing that you are facing in digital world. There are many other risks that you need to think about. I'm going to highlight a few, okay? Sourcing, which is actually your third-party risk, is a big problem area. Just now I challenged you, do you know who are your third party? I bet you do not know. And I bet you do not know how secure they are. And a lot of incident, in fact, we can see a lot of incident that happens right now, is that the criminals are very smart. They know about you being more secure. They will go to the weakest link within your value chain. Okay? As a result, your third-party vendor management is extremely important. The other thing I want to talk about is IT risk, resilience and continuity, which I feel that we don't focus enough in Singapore and we take for granted. The reason is that we are getting interconnected. So you are connected to everyone else. The problem is that you know how well your system are in terms of what are the capacity within your system, but you do not know what are the capacity of your friend's system unless you ask them, or your friend's system. Okay, so that's interconnectivity. Secondly is that we are going to use more and more computer, more and more connected. There will be more strain on your computer system. And computer system by right is built for certain capacity. Just imagine you put more strain on it every single day. So you are linked to many people that you do not know what type of system they have, and then the computers is getting more and more strained in terms of data, in terms of requirement and processes. There will come a time where our system cannot make it. And that's where the resilience will come in. I don't think we have talked a lot about it. Maybe we are lucky because in UK, I spent a lot of time with a lot of organizations in resilience. The reason is that they have a lot of legacy system. And the reason legacy system is so important is because the person who built the system and get connected to the system has probably left or died, and as a result, he doesn't leave any documentation with him. Okay? So as a new person, I do not know what has been built or how has it been configured, and now I have to build system on top of it. Your system will get more and more complex, but nobody have a sight in regards to the end-to-end, how all the system fits together. Okay? And then you have all those attacks, you have all those requirements from computing power required. There will be a time where there will be so much strain on your computer system that your computer system will break down. Okay, now I just want to give you some example of where trust break down. I'm not going to talk about the SGX incident. Last year there were 2 SGX incidents, and there's one this year. I was involved in it, so I shall not say anything on that. The other one is RBS incident. I can say that which actually affected 17 million customers. What happened was that the system was totally broken down. As a result, your pay was not sent to your account, and because you have to pay mortgages to another bank, the mortgages never sent to another bank. As a result, you incur interest charges as well. And these are all resilient problems. In terms of cyber problem, you have heard a lot about it. The one classic one I want to say is Target. This is the only one that the CEO and the CIO was sacked because of that. And this one was interesting. The attack actually happened to their vendor, okay, which is actually a refrigerator company. And that refrigerator company was sending e-invoice to them. Okay? And as a result, the malware went into their system. As a result, they lost a lot of money and they lost a lot of customer information. The other thing that I want to bring across is that I don't know how many people have been subjected to ransomware in your company. If you dare to raise up your hand. Did you pay for it? Well done. Okay? The reason is that, as I've said before, is that I do know that there is a lot of people or companies that are being attacked by ransomware. Okay? The challenge is that the criminals are now very smart. They know that if I ask you for 100,000, you probably will go to the police to report. But if I ask you for 1,000, you probably will give it to me because you want your information given back to you immediately. And so right now, there is a lot of cases where ransomware, they attack you, ask you for money, but they ask you enough just below your threshold of tolerance. Okay? Because if you go to the police, then the police have to do investigation. You will not get your data until a few weeks if you are lucky. Okay? But the challenge is, as a result, they only ask you for a certain amount of money that you will give it to them and you get your data. Hopefully you get your data back when you pay them, but I don't know. But just for information, okay, in Singapore, you are not allowed to pay ransom, okay? There is actually, I was told by the lawyers, that actually is a crime to pay the kidnapper or ransom. So if you pay the ransom, you are also a criminal. Okay, now, the other thing I want to talk about is regarding Ukraine. Okay, this is something that Singapore government is very worried about. That was actually in 2005, before Christmas. You know that Ukraine was having war with Russia. What happened was this was the only cases where one part of the country had a total blackout for a few days. The reason is that their power plant was actually attacked by the Russians, so they say, and as a result, they did not have electricity for a few days. Okay, and this is what I know the Singapore government is very concerned about it, because just imagine we don't have power, your MRT cannot work, your office, your business cannot run, your trading cannot run, probably the economy will be affected. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all, but I just want to give you an example about when something goes wrong, it has a big impact. Okay, now This is a slide which I always insisted on talking about, because it's that when we talk about something goes wrong, we think that we'll pay money to the regulator, we pay money to the customer, that sort of thing. These are the traditional financial operation impact. There's a bigger impact on you personally as a senior exec in your company that has never been actually written here. I've dealt with many incidents in UK and in Singapore. What you realize that when an attack happens or when an incident happens, you as a senior exec lose control of the organization because people do not trust you. People will say that you have failed what you have done. And you have to spend the next 6 months remediating or doing things without having holiday and affecting your family. There's a personal tragedy out there that is not written inside here. We think about the cost of customer, that sort of thing. But there is an impact on each of us individually if we are impacted by a breach of trust. Okay, now, so how to build trust in the digital age? There are 5 key elements you need to think about, and we have talked about security, which is protecting information about your customer and also your company. We talk about data. Data is important because rubbish in, rubbish out. And how do you make sure that your data are clean? A lot of organization is having problem in terms of data because you have different data. They are of the same customer, they are conflicting, and you need to get it right. Thirdly is that you need to have confidence in your system, that the system is supposed to do what they are supposed to do. Okay? It is sometimes, I've come across organization that the system was supposed to produce maybe a report, but you rely on the report for the last 10 years, and somehow, someday, somebody realized that for all along the report is the wrong report, or come up with the wrong computation. Okay, that has happened many times. You must have confidence in terms of taking risks, so you need to identify your risk appetite. And last but not least, in terms of confidence in your digital transformation program. How many of you company use agile development? Does anybody know agile development, which is a big words right now in the IT community? Traditionally, IT develops system, making sure that user requirements are defined, and then you probably test it before you implement it. Okay, agile development is like the faith or is the in thing right now in technology, which is basically iterative development. Okay, you develop things as you go along. Okay, why I want to say that is because you want to be responsive to your customer. You want to make sure that you develop as you work along with your customer. Okay? The challenge with that is that there are very little control over it in terms of what the people want, what type of testing to be done, that sort of thing. And that increases risk as well. So to do a transformation, just be careful. You need to understand what you are doing. Okay? Now, so those are the 5 areas that I think that you should be thinking about. And what does it mean to an organization? Okay, you need to have a digital transformation strategy to make sure that you make use of the opportunity out there. You need to make sure that you understand the regulation. In fact, we are working very closely with MAS in regards to fintech. There will be more regulation coming up, okay, and I can assure you. And also at the same time, in terms of people and talent. One thing that I'm very passionate about is that we spend a lot of time talking about getting people innovative. Okay, I encourage you that we cannot be innovative if we spend all our time working very hard. You need thinking time. Okay, if you don't have thinking time, you will not be able to think. And if you can't think, you can't innovate. Okay, now thirdly, operation. Organization need to think about how operationally they need to operationalize the innovative ideas that they have. Okay, and that's easier said than done. I find that traditionally we have been very bad at implementing. We are very good at coming up with a strategy, but implementation is a weak point. Okay, because implementation requires the people involvement, the people buy-in, but you also need to change the process. And last but not least is that you need to engage your customer. At the end of the day, the digital native is the king. Okay, you have to meet their needs. And whatever you do, you have to go back to the principle of your customer. Okay, So I just want to leave behind something you can take away. We have a digital trust framework, which is actually a circle that tells you what are the things that you need to think about when you deal with digital. Okay? You talk about cybersecurity, you talk about data governance and data quality. I do not know whether your organization have data governance and data quality. This will get increasingly important as your systems are interconnected, because if your data are rubbish, as a result, you cannot make use of those data. And if you can't use the data, you can't make decisions based on the data. Okay? The other thing that we need to think about is resilience, as I've said before. Global IT, you need to think about how to make sure that you understand what are the vulnerabilities out there in Singapore and across the globe. And you also have to make sure that you are dealing with regulations. Okay? The next one is IT governance. In fact, one of the things I always encourage people, before you go into digital journey transformation, make sure you have a right governance process. Okay? Don't ever go to digital transformation without a right governance process. If not, you're wasting your money. That's my only encouragement to you. Okay? Who is ultimately responsible for digital transformation? What are the steering committee? What type of report is required? And how do you report to them are very important. Okay, now, megatrend, you need to know what is going on out there. Okay, because the world is changing so much that you need to know what are the emerging technology such that you can make use of them when they are coming up. Okay, IT processes and assets. This is one area that we accountants are very good at, but I think organizations overlook. A lot of time we buy technology, and because we think that we buy technology, we can transform ourselves, but that's not true. Technology is one component. You need to have the right governance. You need to make sure that the process has proper control such that they can help with the digital journey. And sourcing, talk about it in terms of third party. You need to make sure that your third party is secured. And last but not least, project delivery. Okay, it's about how you implement the project. You need to have the right governance structure in it. Okay, now, so before I go back, before I end it off, I just want to leave a few questions to you. Okay, is that have your organization identified the risk profile within your organization? Okay, if you don't know your risk profile, you shouldn't go into digital transformation. Secondly, is your digital transformation holistic, that consider the business imperative and also the IT strategy? It's only when all three are aligned that you can make it in the most effective manner. If not, you're throwing money inside the drain. Okay? And thirdly, do you know where are your physical assets and what are your data that are precious to you? And fourthly, you need to know who are your third parties, and you need to know who have access to your system, and you also need to know if the access to the system, the people who have access to your system are the real people or not. And if you are holding data, you have to make sure that data is secured, and you are in a regulated environment. Make sure that you understand the regulation out there and speak to your regulator. And last but not least, when incident happen, be it cyber or resilient, you have a process in place to make sure you deal with it. And it's not a policy, not a procedure, but it's through exercise that you can be prepared for incident. With that, thank you very much.